In this video, we're talking about all the things people don't tell you about Portland, Oregon.
There's things people don't tell me about?
Yeah, stay tuned. Welcome back to Living in the Pacific Northwest with Hal Byrd. I'm Hal Byrd.
And I'm JB.
And on this channel, we share
lots of resources about what life is really like living here in the Pacific Northwest, namely greater Southwest Washington and the Portland metro areas.
And today we're talking about the things they don't tell you about Portland, Oregon. If you want to know what they don't tell you about other cities, you can check them out here. And I'm really excited about this because I feel like we don't talk about Portland enough, even though we are there all the time.
Yes, we are.
We live in Washington, but obviously our business being, since this is a border area.
Border town.
It's a border town. We are back and forth between Oregon and Washington all the time. We have tons of clients in Oregon. I'm licensed in both states, so I can cover the entire Portland metro area.
Yeah. And one of the great things that we enjoy about living here is that Portland Metro, Vancouver, Greater Vancouver is so intertwined nowadays that whether you live on the Oregon side or the Washington side, you're always accessing each state's resources and amenities and opportunities. So
you're telling me that people from Portland go up to Vantucky?
More and more people from Portland are in Vantucky a whole lot, whether it be for the new waterfront, which is a huge magnet, whether it be for events going up, even up in Richfield at Illinois Casino and shows, or what's the name of the performance?
RV in Style.
RV in Style. So,
but this video is all about Portland and the things they don't tell you. So we obviously know that Portland is known for its coffee culture, craft breweries, Rose City, Bridge City.
bicycles,
like the Amsterdam of the US type of things. Its outdoor lifestyle. Fun fact that I think is pretty well known is that Portland has the most strip clubs per capita. But there's definitely more that people aren't talking about, and those are the things we're gonna cover today.
Right. And I like Portland because I call it the bite-sized big city. And what I mean by that is that, you think of big cities, whether it be New York or LA or Seattle for that matter in the Northwest, they can be overwhelming. And for me, Portland gives you 90% of the amenities of the biggest of cities, but without being overwhelming. Like if you think about it, when you go there, at least for me, my anxiety doesn't rise. You don't feel overwhelmed sitting in a ton of traffic. So that's why I call it the bite-sized big city.
Yeah. So the first thing I think that people don't tell you, and I think this is on purpose, is that the weather is not all rain.
Not far from it.
Even though Portland has this reputation, and the whole Pacific Northwest has a reputation of being very rainy, that's only part of the story. I would say 8 months out of the year, you can expect something like a bright overcast or a drizzle rain is what I would say you see most often.
As a matter of fact, anecdotally, I'm helping out our local bicycle club, Vancouver Bicycle Club, and specifically a big annual charity ride. So I've been doing some homework on other rides that take place in the area. You know that I'm a big fan of the Portland Providence Bridge Pedal. And I was looking, kind of just reading their literature, and they reminded me that actually over the summer months, Portland gets below average rainfall for the United States, which is, totally opposite what you think. So like to your point, during that stretch of the summer months.
Yeah, about 4 months, I would say.
4 months, it's almost like they turn off the faucet, the rain faucet.
And then we have sun and just gorgeous weather. And because we're so far north, the sun sets later. So it's just a beautiful time of year, but it's not all rain. Even in the 8 months where it's more like through fall and winter and spring, when it's grayer and like rainier, it's not a torrential downpour. It's not. That's why nobody in Portland wears umbrella or uses umbrella. Oh,
I heard of some of those strip clubs they wear umbrellas.
Hey, is that because they're making it rain?
Making it rain.
And so I think that one thing to know is that if you do think, like if you're used to more sun and you're considering moving here, you may want to look at a vitamin D supplement, a happy light. There's different things that you can do to address seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. But yeah, it's definitely not all rain. So even in those 8 months, we have, today it's not rainy. It's a little overcast, but it's not this like dark gray cloud that's like Eeyore kind of following you around and like raining on you constantly. It's like the clouds are still up high and it's like a light gray overcast.
Yeah, and I think because of the weather, even like you said, outside of the summer months, it's still more conducive to staying active, right? So even in the fall, winter, and spring, you're a lot more likely once you live here to get outside. Whereas if you live in other parts of the country that get maybe more extreme weather in the winter, you probably wouldn't go outside for anything.
Yeah.
Whereas here, you can still feasibly take a hike, take a walk, be active, walk to the coffee shop if you live in an area like that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And then there's also plenty of sunny spots that are just a short drive away, like Bend, Oregon, or just anywhere really in Eastern Oregon, going through the gorge on the other side of the Cascades. It's going to be sunnier. Plus, you can snag really good tickets to places like Hawaii and Mexico, and there's cruises. So I usually recommend to my clients who are concerned, like plan a January, February tropical getaway if you can. The number 2 thing that people won't tell you about is that Portland isn't quite as cheap anymore. It used to be incredibly affordable compared to like San Francisco and Seattle, LA, like a lot of the West Coast cities, and it's still priced well compared to those cities, but it's not necessarily cheap. And I think that that's something that's worth talking about. Home prices have skyrocketed. We have tons of businesses and industries that are bringing jobs. And I can't tell you how many people we've met who are relocating to Portland for job opportunities. And they're going to be working in Portland, whether that's Nike, or we have a lot of clients in healthcare.
Intel's huge.
Yeah, there's a lot of industry, which is great. A metro definitely needs its jobs and infrastructure, but it's does have some hidden costs. So even though there's no sales tax, you do have high income tax and slightly higher than average property tax. It works out to about 1%. It's not crazy, but it's not the cheapest property tax in the country.
Now, alternatively to the Portland expenses, there are some options, right? So again, because we're a border town right across the river in Vancouver, Washington, and Greater Vancouver, you have some possibly cheaper options.
Yep.
And then you also have some Portland suburbs. Speaking of Portland suburbs, we recently put up a video about the best Portland suburbs right there.
The next thing to know about Portland that a lot of people will not tell you is that we have a major transportation dilemma. We have the TriMet and Max, which is a light rail, but they are not as extensive as I think it needs to be in order to be reliable. And Portland is not what I would call a great public transportation city. It is still incredibly helpful to have a car. If you live in places like the Alberta Arts District or Selwood Moorland or certain parts of St. John's, you can get around your neighborhood really easily, especially if you bike, but even just walking. And so a lot of my clients who are living in the city want to be able to have a walkable neighborhood, and not all neighborhoods in Portland are walkable.
No, and even with the amazing bike culture, and Portland is probably one of the most bike-friendly cities in the entire country, there are some challenges, again, typically weather-induced. So if it's raining, you may not want to get on a bike. I highly suggest a bike with fenders, which really cuts down on the spray. And also, due to the hills, Portland is a rather hilly town just because of the way it's situated on the mountains.
Yeah, an e-bike is great. And for gear, if you're riding a bike during the rainy seasons, then Portland has a lot of different clothing options. A local company, locally made, great company is called Showers Pass. They make waterproof material that is designed for biking here in the Northwest. So I would really recommend them. So yeah, biking, huge. You'll meet a lot of people who are bike commuters, but the weather can make that challenging. And then that also brings up, so if you're not gonna walk or bike, then you're gonna get in your car, and congestion can be difficult because Portland was not designed to have the population that it has now.
No, it really wasn't, was it?
So, and then when you add into that fact, especially if you're going downtown, car break-ins can be very common. So, that's something to be concerned about. I actually had some clients who live in Washington and they have family that lives in downtown Portland, and they went there out to a nice restaurant at night and parked in parking garage. the car next to them when they came back had all their windows smashed.
What?
And so it's definitely something to keep in mind. It's not something that people like to talk about, but that's kind of a transportation dilemma between public transportation, walking, biking, and cars. There's no perfect form of transportation in Portland.
Right. Now, anecdotally, in almost 7 years of living here, going to Portland literally hundreds of times, knock on wood, we've never had any issues, parking in all kinds of neighborhoods, in lots, on the street, different vehicles. I've never had any issues. So,
and we never valet when we're downtown.
No, I don't like those guys driving me vehicles.
So that's a good point that you bring up.
So we want to give you our personal perspective and experience, but also, like I said, we don't want to downplay the reality that a lot of people do experience.
Yeah. But we have some street smarts. Like, we don't leave stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, I hope if, I think everyone in this day and age, don't create any undue risk, to your belongings. So hide your stuff in the trunk, or, even without.
People still leave their cars unlocked.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
I think it just depends on the person.
Mm-hmm. I do notice you leave your purse out a lot down in the footwell. You should cover it with a towel or put it in the back seat.
I can do better about that.
Okay.
The fourth thing that we want to talk about is a cultural divide. You definitely have a growing split between like the old time Portlanders, people who've been here a long time, and newcomers to the city. And I think that Portland has, going back to what we were talking about with the jobs, just a huge transplant community because of such big companies that are here.
Yeah. Or people like us, one of the things when we were doing our research to move, we fell in love with the show Portlandia, and, painted a very kind of a quirky, cool place to live that's outside of the normal big city.
Yeah. I think Portlandia is based in truth, a little bit exaggerated, but I'm glad that you brought up Portlandia too, because I think that one of the things that the longtime Portland residents are complaining about is that Portland's losing its identity.
Yes.
And I was thinking about this when I was driving there the other week, and I was, you have that phrase, keep Portland weird.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is that weird about Portland these days? Or maybe the weirdness has become normal to me, because you still have the naked bike ride. That's pretty weird. You still have like off the wall things, but more and more it feels like any other American corporate city.
Yeah.
Also, Portland is really known for being politically progressive, but you don't necessarily have to fit that mold. I've had a lot of clients from the Bay Area in California that are like, you have to fit to keep your friend group. You have to fit in this exact political belief. And if you are outside of it, people really shun you, I guess. But Portland's progressive, but not everyone fits that mold. And you can see that with some of the changes that have happened in the city council. The voters in Portland basically cleaned shop. If you guys know me, I'm bad with idioms. Is that the word? Clean shop? Cleared house? What is it? Whatever it was. They did a whole turnover of their city council because people are looking for change. Oh, I can't talk. Oh, how do we have this YouTube channel and I can barely talk today?
God only knows. So one of the things that they do tell you about Portland, maybe overkill, is talking about the crime and homelessness. And while it does exist, it's undeniable. What they don't tell you, and I think that's what sets us apart, is that we want to talk about the other side of the coin, which is Portland is an absolutely beautiful city. When we go there, whether it's for shopping or dining or recreation, bike rides, I feel totally safe and comfortable there.
Now, are there encampments on every corner?
Absolutely not. No, typically you have clusters of them. But again, by and large, Portland is absolutely a beautiful city.
And I think that it's worse in downtown and it's worse at night in downtown, but they're beautiful, like you're saying, neighborhoods and options where homelessness isn't going to be on your front door.
And to show that off, again, one of the things other types of videos we put up on this channel are just kind of vlog style, lifestyle things. So one of the videos that we have that we can put up here is a recent ride with PBOT, the Portland Bureau of Transportation. It was a ride through the season's kickoff ride, and you can see it. We don't edit out the homeless encampments or anything like that, the crime. So
telling me nobody got mugged in front of
no muggings in our vicinity. So again, we put up videos. So again, we talk about the good and bad, but it's a beautiful city that I think is making definitely a comeback. Okay. And
one thing that maybe people don't know, if your view of Portland is mainly based on what the news tells you, is that property crime is higher. Like we talked about the break-ins, like theft and stuff like that. But violent crime compared to the national average is actually lower. So if you're mostly concerned about your personal safety, like I'm not that concerned about my personal safety in Portland, but I am concerned about property safety. So it just, there's some variance with it. And the city's making progress. It's just slow.
Great stuff.
This one is going to be a little bit of a softball one. I think it has to do with the outdoorsiness of Portland. Everyone thinks of the Northwest and Portland as being outdoorsy and hiking. But if you're coming from other major cities, I don't think people realize just how accessible everything is in Portland, because it is like a forest city in a lot of ways. You have the Mount Rocky Butte, you have Mount Tabor, you have Forest Park, you have all this access to nature right in the city. You don't have to live in the city and then drive outside of the city to get to nature. The nature is in the city.
A city is the nature.
And I think that's something that people don't really tell you.
Yeah, no, at least in my experience, a lot of times, to go hiking or do something activity-wise, you have to basically make a plan and have a date for it. Whereas, living in Portland, you can literally on your lunch just take a hike or a bike ride or something like that. So
I remember the first time we took a hike in Forest Park, and I was like, why are we parking in downtown? Where are we going? And it was literally we were parked in downtown Portland, and just like that, we were in Forest Park, and it was a completely different world.
And recently we took a hike with our People of Color hiking group. That was in, I forget the name of that.
Tryon Creek.
Hey, that's great. And Tryon Creek, which again, just inside the city limits, but as soon as you get on those trails, it's like you can be gone and lose yourself in the nature of it all.
Yeah, so it's kind of a softball one, but we thought it was worth knowing. So I think the takeaways from this video is that there's a lot to love about Portland culture, all the things that people talk about, from the coffee and the beer and the food. The food is amazing, especially if you're not super into fine dining. Food that's really approachable and casual, and you don't need a reservation. Where you don't need a reservation.
You need a restaurant, but you don't need a reservation.
So maybe Portland's right for you, but these are some of the things that we feel like people aren't really talking about the city. It's a great option. It's not for everybody. There are challenges, and if you are searching, especially if you're relocating from outside of there into Portland, you want to be very particular about a neighborhood that's going to fit your lifestyle and your needs. So if you want to discuss that with me, as a licensed realtor and relocation specialist, my Zoom link is in the description below. You can book a call with me. We can chat all about neighborhoods, your commute times, what's going to work, what activities you need to be near.
So and so we appreciate you watching this video. We always encourage people who watch this channel to all the normal stuff, like, subscribe, share, but more importantly, leave some thoughts. Let us know what you think about this topic, maybe your personal experience in Portland, and even if there's some other videos that you'd like us to share with you on this channel. We appreciate it.
All right, we'll catch you guys next time.
See you.
Ciao. Byrd.
And I'm JB.
And on this channel, we share... Whoa, what do we share? Property tax in the country.
What are the utilities like comparatively?
I need to do some research on it. Don't put me on the spot. Any other American corporate city?
Yeah. I think, unfortunately, the more of an outlier you are, and you get out of the mainstream, maybe it doesn't. I'm probably kind of cutting this off, so never mind. Let's go. I think
Unfair, they did a whole turnover of their city council because people are looking for change. Oh, I can't talk. Oh, how do we have this YouTube channel and I can barely talk today?
God only knows.
All right, we're gonna keep that in.
Okay.
And today we're talking about the things they don't tell you about Portland, Oregon. We have some of the same series for other... I can't even talk right now. If you want to know... Jeez. Bull biking. Traffic condition is... No, I think we scrap some of this and...
Tech companies take over.
Violent crimes are lower. But property... Yeah, there's a lot of industry, which is great. I mean, a metro definitely needs its in downtown Portland, and they went there out to a nice restaurant at night. And why are you looking at me so intently? food that's really approachable and casual, and you don't need a reservation. Where you don't need a reservation.
You need a restaurant, but you don't need a reservation.
This video, man.